Let me start with a truth that separates the wealthy from everyone else. Rich people do not think more positively about money. They think differently about money. And if you don't understand how rich people think, you will keep working harder while money keeps staying further away. Because money does not respond to effort. Money responds to thinking. Most people believe money is something you chase. Rich people understand money is something you attract. That one difference changes everything. Before we go deeper, if you want to reprogram your thinking for wealth, subscribe to Millionaire Mindset Path. This channel is not about hype, it's about building the mindset that money responds to. Now listen carefully. Most people think money is scarce. Rich people think money is abundant. Poor thinkers ask, will there be enough? Rich thinkers ask, how do I position myself to receive more? Scarcity thinking makes people defensive. Abundance thinking makes people creative. That's why rich people focus on opportunity, while poor thinkers focus on limitation. Rich people do not wake up thinking about bills. They wake up thinking about leverage. They don't ask, how do I save money? They ask, how do I multiply money? This is the first major difference. Poor thinkers think money is the reward for hard work. Rich thinkers know money is the reward for value creation. You can work extremely hard and still stay broke if your work does not create value for others. Money flows toward usefulness. That's why rich people study markets, problems, and human behavior. They don't obsess over money, they obsess over solutions. Money simply follows solutions. Most people think money is emotional. Rich people know money is logical. Money doesn't care about your struggle. Money doesn't care about your story. Money moves toward results. That's why rich people track outcomes, not effort. They measure impact. They measure growth. They measure progress. And because they measure it, they can improve it. This is why rich people see money as a tool, not a goal. Money is leverage. Money is freedom. Money is amplification. Money allows good ideas to spread faster. And this understanding shapes how rich people live, work, and decide. Rich people do not think about money in terms of hours. Most people believe income is connected to time. They believe the more hours they work, the more money they should earn. Rich people understand this belief is a ceiling. Time is limited. Value is not. No matter how disciplined you are, you only get 24 hours in a day. So any income tied strictly to time will always have a maximum limit. That is why rich people never ask, how long will this take? They ask, how much value will this create? Poor thinkers sell time. Rich thinkers sell results. This is one of the most important mindset shifts anyone can make about money. When you sell time, you are always replaceable. When you sell results, you become valuable. Rich people understand that the marketplace does not reward effort, it rewards impact. You can be extremely busy and still be financially stuck if your work does not move outcomes forward. That's why rich people are obsessed with leverage. Leverage means one action creates multiple results. Leverage is what allows income to grow without working more hours. A system is leverage. A skill is leverage. An idea is leverage. This is why rich people focus so much on learning. They don't see learning as an expense. They see it as an investment. Skills compound. Knowledge compounds. Thinking compounds. Most people want immediate income. Rich people want long-term expansion. This is why rich people are patient. They are willing to delay gratification because they understand compounding. Poor thinkers spend first and save what is left. Rich thinkers invest first and live on what remains. That single habit, repeated over time, creates a massive gap. Rich people also understand the difference between income and wealth. Income is what you earn. Wealth is what you keep and what continues to grow. That's why rich people don't just focus on earning, they focus on ownership. A salary has a ceiling. Ownership does not. This is why rich people think in terms of assets. Assets produce income. Liabilities consume income. Poor thinkers buy liabilities and call them rewards. Rich thinkers buy assets and let assets pay for rewards. They are not trying to look rich, they are trying to be rich. And being rich requires discipline. Rich people also think differently about spending. Poor thinkers ask, "Can I afford this?" Rich thinkers ask, "Does this move me closer to freedom?" They understand every dollar is a worker. Either your money is working for you or you are working for money. Rich people want money working for them. That is why they focus on building things that can generate income repeatedly. Systems, processes, intellectual property, businesses, investments. They don't rely on a single stream of income. They understand dependence is risky. Multiple streams create stability. Ownership creates leverage. This is also why rich people think long-term. They are not obsessed with short-term wins. They are building structures that can grow for years. They know real wealth is rarely fast. It is usually boring, disciplined, and consistent. While others chase excitement, rich people build foundations. Another major difference is how rich people think about growth. Poor thinkers want certainty. Rich thinkers accept uncertainty. They understand growth lives on the other side of discomfort. They don't need everything to be clear before they move. They move, learn, adjust, and refine. Clarity comes from action. Waiting does not create clarity. Action does. This is why rich people appear confident, not because they know everything, but because they trust their ability to adapt. They believe they can figure things out. That belief alone creates momentum. Rich people also understand that income growth requires thinking beyond yourself. The more people your value helps, the more income you can earn. This is why rich people scale solutions. Helping one person pays once. Helping many people pays repeatedly. Scale is not about greed. Scale is about impact, and impact is always rewarded. As we move forward, the next shift becomes even more important, because even when people understand value, leverage, and ownership, many still remain stuck, not because they lack knowledge, but because of what happens internally. Rich people do not think about fear the way most people do. For most people, fear is a stop sign. For rich people, fear is a signal that growth is nearby. Poor thinkers see fear as something to avoid. Rich thinkers see fear as something to understand and manage. This is one of the biggest differences in how wealth is built. Most people believe rich people are fearless. That is not true. Rich people feel fear just like everyone else. The difference is what they do after fear shows up. Poor thinkers stop. Rich thinkers slow down, evaluate, and move anyway. This is why many people remain stuck even after learning about value, leverage, and ownership. They understand the ideas intellectually, but emotionally they hesitate. Fear shows up quietly. Fear of being judged, fear of being criticized, fear of failing publicly, fear of looking foolish, and fear is expensive. Fear doesn't just delay action, fear delays income growth. Rich people understand that money flows toward responsibility. The more responsibility you are willing to carry, the more income you are able to earn. But responsibility exposes weakness. When you take responsibility, your decisions matter, your mistakes matter, your results matter. That pressure scares most people, so they stay small. They stay in roles where expectations are low. They stay in positions where mistakes are hidden. They stay where effort is noticed more than results. Rich people move in the opposite direction. They move toward responsibility, not because it feels comfortable, but because they understand responsibility creates growth. Growth increases capacity. Capacity increases income. This is why leaders earn more than workers, not because leaders work harder, but because leaders carry more weight. Poor thinkers focus on protecting their ego. Rich thinkers focus on protecting their future. They are willing to be wrong early so they don't stay broke forever. Another major difference is how rich people think about failure. Poor thinkers see failure as a verdict. Rich thinkers see failure as feedback. For poor thinkers, failure means I'm not good enough. For rich thinkers, failure means that approach didn't work. This difference sounds small, but it completely changes behavior. When failure attacks identity, people quit. When failure becomes information, people adjust. Rich people fail often, but they fail forward. They don't repeat the same mistake emotionally. They learn from it strategically. They extract lessons. They refine systems. They improve processes. That's why failure accelerates them instead of stopping them. Rich people also understand something crucial. Confidence does not come before action. Confidence comes after preparation and repetition. Most people wait to feel confident before they take responsibility. Rich people take responsibility and let confidence develop over time. They know confidence is not a personality trait, it is a skill built through experience. This is why rich people invest heavily in learning. Learning reduces uncertainty. Uncertainty fuels fear. The more you understand something, the less afraid you become of it. This is why ignorance is expensive. Ignorance increases fear. Fear delays action. Delayed action delays income. Rich people do not avoid uncertainty. They reduce it through preparation. They study. They ask questions. They surround themselves with people who are further ahead. They don't isolate themselves in comfort zones. Comfort stops growth. Growth increases income. Rich people intentionally put themselves in uncomfortable environments, rooms where they are not the smartest, situations where they must stretch, opportunities that force learning. Poor thinkers avoid these situations because they threaten identity. Rich thinkers seek these situations because they expand capacity. Another difference is how rich people think about risk. Poor thinkers try to eliminate risk. Rich thinkers try to manage risk. Eliminating all risk means eliminating growth. Growth always involves uncertainty. Rich people don't gamble blindly, but they don't freeze either. They calculate risk. They test small. They limit downside. They expand upside. This approach allows them to move forward without reckless behavior. Poor thinkers want guarantees. Rich thinkers want progress. They understand guarantees don't exist, but learning does. Progress compounds. This is why rich people act with incomplete information. They know clarity comes from movement, not waiting. Waiting feels responsible, but often it's just fear in disguise. Rich people would rather take a small step and adjust than stay frozen waiting for perfection. Perfectionism is not excellence. Perfectionism is fear wearing a mask. And perfectionism is one of the biggest income killers. Because while someone is waiting to be perfect, someone else is learning by doing. Over time, the learner wins. Rich people also understand that visibility is required for income growth. Results must be seen to be rewarded. Poor thinkers hide. Rich thinkers step forward, not to show off, but to be measured. Measurement creates improvement. Improvement creates value. Value creates income. As we move into the final part, everything begins to connect. Value, leverage, ownership, fear management, responsibility. Rich people do not think about money as something temporary. They think about money as something that must be directed. Most people see money as something that comes and goes. Rich people see money as something that must be managed, multiplied, and preserved. This is where long-term wealth is decided. Poor thinkers focus on income. Rich thinkers focus on wealth. Income is what comes in. Wealth is what stays, grows, and lasts. That distinction alone changes behavior. Most people earn money and immediately ask, "What can I buy?" Rich people earn money and immediately ask, "What can I build?" Building creates stability. Buying creates momentary comfort. Comfort fades. Structure lasts. This is why rich people are intentional with money. They don't let money wander. They assign it a job. Every dollar has a purpose. Either it is learning, building, investing, protecting time. Poor thinkers spend money emotionally. Rich thinkers deploy money strategically. They understand money is a tool, not a trophy. Another major difference is how rich people think about time. Most people trade time for money. Rich people protect time using money. They know time is the only resource that cannot be replaced. Money can be lost and earned again. Time cannot. So rich people spend money to save time, and they use saved time to create more value. That is a powerful loop. Poor thinkers spend time to save money. Rich thinkers spend money to save time. Over years, that difference compounds massively. Rich people also think about money beyond themselves. They think in terms of systems, families, and generations. Poor thinkers ask, "How much can I make?" Rich thinkers ask, "How long can this last?" That question changes decisions. It changes what they invest in. It changes how they spend. It changes what risks they take. Rich people care about sustainability. They don't just want fast money. They want durable money. Money that survives mistakes. Money that survives downturns. Money that survives emotions. That's why rich people diversify. They don't rely on a single source of income. They don't rely on a single skill. They don't rely on a single opportunity. Dependence is risky. Diversification is protection. This is not about fear, it's about wisdom. Rich people understand that stability does not come from one big win. Stability comes from multiple strong foundations. Another critical difference is how rich people think about legacy. Poor thinkers think about lifestyle. Rich thinkers think about impact. They ask questions like, what problems am I solving? Who benefits from what I'm building? What continues after I stop working? That's why rich people build assets. Assets outlive effort. Skills are assets. Systems are assets. Intellectual property is an asset. Businesses are assets. Assets keep producing value even when the creator steps away. That is real wealth. This is also why rich people focus on principles. Money comes and goes. Markets change. Technology evolves. But principles remain. Principles like value creation, discipline, patience, ownership, long-term thinking. These principles guide decisions even in uncertainty. Poor thinkers chase tactics. Rich thinkers master principles. Tactics change. Principles scale. Another difference is emotional control. Rich people do not let emotions run their finances. They don't make decisions out of fear, excitement, or pressure. They slow down. They evaluate. They ask better questions. Emotion-driven money decisions create chaos. Principle-driven decisions create consistency. Consistency creates wealth. Rich people also understand that wealth is built quietly. It is not loud. It is not flashy. It is not dramatic. It is repetitive. It is disciplined. It is often boring. While others chase attention, rich people build foundations. They don't need validation. They need results. They are not trying to impress strangers.
They are trying to secure freedom. Freedom over image, control over applause, direction over noise. That mindset protects wealth. Here is the final truth. Money does not respond to desire. Money responds to thinking. Money does not move toward need. Money moves toward value. If you think like most people, you will earn like most people. But if you adopt the way rich people think about money, value over time, ownership over dependency, principles over emotions, legacy over lifestyle, your results will change. Not overnight, not magically, but inevitably, because thinking always shows up in outcomes. That is how rich people think about money, and that way of thinking is the foundation of everything taught on Millionaire Mindset Path.